Hi, Assalamualaikum. Good day, everyone. So, hope all of you are doing well today. Alright, so today we are going to continue the new chapter on the chapter 11 entitled Immunity in Humans. So, let's we discuss together the first subtopic, the 11.1, is about the body defense. Our human body defense system will react when pathogen infect the body. So, what is pathogen? Pathogen is a microorganism that will cause the diseases. As example, bacteria, viruses, and parasites. This pathogen can only cause the diseases once they invade or successfully infect our body cell. So, the human body defense will recognize the pathogen as a foreign particle and we call it as antigen. So, what is antigen and antibodies? Antigen are the foreign particles that enter human body and will stimulate the immune response. Antigen will stimulate the lymphocyte, which is a type of white blood cell, to produce antibody. Then the antibodies will flow in the blood and destroy the antigen. The antibodies are proteins that found on the lymphocyte surface or the protein released by the lymphocyte into the blood plasma. So, the interaction between antibodies and antigen that will cause the antigen will destroy is called immune response. What is immunity? Immunity is when the body's ability to fight the infection. Means we can overcome the invasions of the pathogen. When our body can fight a disease, we are said to be immune to that disease. There are 3 lines of body defense to fight against the diseases in our body. They consist of the first line of defense, followed by the second line of defense, and lastly is the third line of defense. The first line of defense consists of physical and chemical that line up to prevent the pathogen from enter our body. The first line body defense is not specific and will act to prevent the pathogen from entering our body. The first one is the lysozyme. The lysozyme is an enzyme that we can find in the tears, nasal mucus or saliva. Lysozyme is an antimicrobial protein that can dissolve and destroy some types of bacteria. The second one is the mechanism of blood clotting. The blood clotting will prevent the bacteria from entering the wound. The third one is skin. Skin is a physical defense that prevents the entry of pathogen. It is tough and difficult for microorganisms to penetrate. The dead cell layer will keep on shading to make sure that the virus or the pathogen is difficult to grow on it. The skin also will act as a chemical shield through a secretion of sebum. Oil and acid in the sebum will prevent the growth of various types of microorganisms. Sweat that have been secreted by our skin contain lysozyme, a type of enzyme that breaks down the cell wall of some bacteria. Next one is the mucous membrane. The mucous membrane that lines the respiratory tract secretes a sticky fluid called mucus. This mucus also contains lysozyme that will destroy the bacteria that found in the air when it comes or enters through the respiratory system. Last but not least is the hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid in the stomach will destroy the bacteria present in the food and drinks. This is the second line of body defense. The second line of body defense is a fever, phagocytosis, and inflammation. The mechanism of the second line body defense also not specific. Fever is a mechanism that fights infection. The fever will increase phagocytic activity and then it will fight against the microorganism or the pathogen that infect our body. Leukocyte is a white blood cell. So, neutrophil and monocyte are phagocyte. What does it mean by the phagocyte? Phagocyte is a white blood cell that carry out the phagocytosis process. What is phagocytosis process? It is the microorganism or other particles such as that cell are trapped and digested by the phagocyte. When infection occurs, the phagocyte will move to the infected area and enter the tissue fluid through the pore of the capillary wall. Later, the phagocyte encounter the pathogen. The phagocyte will engulf the pathogen, and then the lysozyme in the phagocyte will digest the pathogen. And this is the inflammation. Inflammation is the immediate response that destroys and neutralizes the harmful action of microorganisms and toxins at the early stage of infection. The inflammation will cause swelling, turn red, and feel painful. As you can see here, the damaged tissue releases the histamine. What is histamine? The histamine will stimulate an immediate inflammatory response. Histamine will cause the blood capillaries to expand and more blood to flow to the infected area, so that the histamine also will increase the permeability of blood capillaries to the phagocyte. The phagocyte and clotting factors will accumulate in this area. The blood clotting mechanism is triggered, and then the phagocyte will carry out their phagocytosis. This is the third line body defense. If the pathogen have overcome the second line body defense, so the third line of defense will be activated. The third line of defense is immune response of lymphocyte. The lymphocyte formed in the lymph nodes produce antibodies. The actions of antibodies are specific. So, each type of antibody can only combine with a certain or specific antigen. When a person is infected with pathogen, more lymphocytes will accumulate in the lymph nodes to destroy the antigen and foreign particles. This will cause the lymph nodes to swell. The lymph nodes also contain macrophages that can destroy bacteria, dead tissue, and foreign particles through the phagocytosis. There are two types of lymphocyte, T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte. The T lymphocyte will attack the cell infected by pathogen. And the T lymphocyte also will stimulate the B lymphocyte to produce memory cell. At the same time, when the pathogen attacks, the memory cell will be stimulated to produce antibodies immediately. Today we are going to continue the second subtopic entitled Actions of Antibodies. So there are 5 types of actions of antibodies. Consists of the agglutination, neutralisation, precipitation, lysis, and opsonisation. Without further delay, let's continue more details about each type of action. The first one is the precipitation. The antibodies will react with dissolve the antigen to form an insoluble complex, so that the phagocyte will easily can destroy the antigen. The second one is the agglutination. The antibodies will coagulate the pathogen and then make them an easy target to be trapped and destroyed by phagocyte. Next is neutralisation. The antibodies will bind with toxin then produced by the bacteria and neutralize the toxin. Opsonisation. The antibodies combine with the antigen and act as a marker for the phagocyte to recognize the antigen and easily can destroy them. Last but not least is a lysis. The antibodies will combine with the antigen and cause the bacteria to be broken down and decomposed.